Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to tell you is going to sound very familiar if you've been kind of following things for a while now. You have a CBS journalist who goes out and does a little bit of investigative journalism based on some found information that they were able to gather. Based on that information, they start knocking on doors and they find some very just interesting things, some red flags as far as these businesses and their business practices that lead them down a rabbit hole of fraud. Now, if that sounds familiar and I'm saying CBS and you're saying, well, didn't Nick Shirley do that? Then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's interesting because, yes, Nick Shirley did do that. But when he did it, it was labeled as not real journalism. They called him, racist because he was going after the Somali community. I mean, anything to pretty much discredit the work he's done. But now we see legacy media outlets like CBS doing, well, what they should have been doing this entire time, which is investigative journalism, uncovering blatant and obvious fraud that is affecting regular, everyday working people's lives. And now they're calling it out. And so now we're going to break it all down because this journalist is in disbelief that this is what he found in the state of California, in a blue state. And so as always, smash that thumbs up button if you do enjoy the content. That's the best way to let me know. And then make sure you catch the future videos. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to turn on all for your notifications. That way you never miss when I drop. Let's get into it.
Oh, you got a point. Woo, that was great. Let's do it again.
Lynn, you are old and in hospice, so I would be a little bit more proud about my accomplishments, but
69-year-old Dr. Lynn Ianni just ran me up and down the pickleball court. But 2 years ago, she was, according to Medicare records, dying in hospice care.
I was in treatment as physical therapy, simply because I had a kind of an injury on the pickleball court. The administrator at the office was like, they're not going to pay any of your claims. And I was shocked. They said, you're in hospice. And I said, what? What are you talking about? Are you kidding me? Do I look like I'm in hospice? She goes, no, I know you. And when
Ianni's Medicare number had been stolen and used by a company to fraudulently enroll her in hospice care, which she obviously didn't need. That meant Ianni had no coverage and no easy way of getting unenrolled from hospice.
obviously this was a major hassle, lots of phone calls, lots of paperwork. What were the medical consequences?
I was terrified. I mean, something can happen. That's why you have health insurance of any kind. And just to think you're literally without coverage because of some ridiculous, fraudulent thing.
My name is Adam Yamaguchi. I'm with CBS News.
A CBS News investigation found an industry ripe for fraud, especially in California. Companies accused of overbilling, real patients denied care, and it's costing hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. The hospice Ianni was fraudulently enrolled in is called Fortuna. When we called, no one answered.
The mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time.
The state of California increased monitoring of the hospice industry 4 years ago, identifying the hallmarks of fraud. Fortuna has 2 of them, and it's hardly alone. CBS News analyzed every hospice licensed in LA County, more than 1,700, and checked for the same warning signs the state used, like multiple hospices packed into one building, or caregivers whose patients, supposedly at death's door, are discharged alive. 3 years after the state crackdown, which included a moratorium on new hospice licenses, our investigation found more than 40% of agencies still show at least 3 of these state-defined indicators of potential fraud.
And so basically what you see going on right here is a entry level of journalism to uncover alleged fraud. Calling a few numbers, following up, knocking on a few doors, gathering information that's public. I mean, for a multi-billion-dollar legacy media outlet like CBS or any of the other ones out there, this isn't hard stuff to do with the type of budgets they have. They just choose not to do it. And so this guy's doing basically the same thing Nick Shirley did as a YouTuber, uncovering the massive alleged fraud that you found now to be in Minnesota. And now you see CBS deciding that, you know what, hey, we'll do a little bit of investigative journalism. We'll actually try to find some truth here with all the fraud, waste, and abuse going on in the state of California. But when Nick Shirley did it, you had host and full panel discussions talking about who is this guy? Who does he think he is? He's not even legitimate. Check it out.
So shouldn't he have to provide actual evidence of fraud before just walking up to a building and saying fraud is happening here?
Who is he? Like, who gave this guy license to go around and say, I couldn't get into daycare centers, the doors were locked? Like, nobody should be able to walk into a daycare center because the doors are locked. These random vigilante justice, something that people in this country know a lot about, these random vigilante justice seekers who ordain themselves like some sort of law enforcement expert, like he's a random YouTuber.
Done enough. I mean, they would say, look, these fraud cases have been going on, but they've already done like 80 indictments. The cases have been going on, for years.
And why did I show up one day in Minnesota and go to all these daycares, no children, they're receiving millions of dollars. We uncovered nearly $110 million in fraud in one day.
How do you know that all the allegations that you're making are true?
How do I know that they're true? Well, we showed you guys what was happening, and then you guys can go ahead and make your own analysis.
We're coming so we can make our own analysis. Are you 100% sure you're true?
Yeah, I am 100% sure I'm true.
CNN is looking into Shirley's claims.
Hi, my name's Whitney Wild. I'm a correspondent for CNN.
We reached out to several of the daycares featured in the now viral video. Only one daycare facility answered and said they are a legitimate business.
Have you seen the videos, purporting that some of these daycares don't have kids inside?
And so you heard that. Isn't it just amazing what you end up finding when you're not just trying to tell a story or tell people what you want them to hear versus delivering the truth? Let's continue.
So Victory Boulevard seems to be a hotbed of...
Yep, you can't throw a rock without hitting a hospice.
Sheila Clark, a hospice patient advocate, took us to what she described as the ground zero for hospice fraud, a 3-mile stretch of Los Angeles that's home to nearly 500 hospice company offices.
There's one hospice here that hits all 6 of California's red flags of possible fraud.
Well, there's no hospice there.
Legal office.
Yeah.
With a ton of mail just sitting there.
Yeah, look at this.
This agency, VML, hit every fraud indicator in our analysis and billed Medicare roughly $49,000 per patient, about 3.5 times the national average.
They need their curative treatment. They need their they need to be taken care of. They need to know that they can get what they need when they need it, not hit a roadblock because somebody's scammed them.
The number you dialed is not in service.
Clark tells us when offices like these close abruptly, it's real patients in desperate need who pay the price.
How does that make you feel as somebody who deals with patients who need this?
Sad, really sad, because I talk to them every day. I'm sorry, I can't.
And so these people aren't just committing fraud. They're committing fraud against some of the most vulnerable groups in our community, the elderly, senior citizens. Same way this was going down in Minnesota with the alleged fraud, not just with the welfare fraud and not just with the daycare fraud, but also with the Medicaid fraud. And so you got these people getting rich off the taxpayers' dime. That's what they're doing. And here's the worst part. Because of that fraud, you have seniors, the most vulnerable. They're getting denied. They can't get access to the care and to the help that they actually need. And we know how things like this work in order to try and get things figured out and handled and straightened out. You think it's just, oh, we understand, Ms. Johnson. Clearly we see the mix up. We'll get you covered. No, it don't never work like that. These people got to go through freaking hell, basically, in order to then get the help that they should be getting anyway. Now they got to go through all these loops. They got to go through all of this chaos based on something that obviously they had no control over and that happened to them because of the fraud. But then you got Democrats who will point the finger at Republicans, accusing them of trying to take away people's health care because they want to root out the fraud, because they want to clean up the waste, the fraud, the abuse, and not allow things like this to be able to happen so easily. And this is exactly what Elon Musk, what they were looking to clean up with Doge, right? Get rid of the fraud and the wasteful spending. And you already have Chuck Schumer already talking about how Democrats regain power, that they'll reverse. And not only reverse, but increase the spending on a lot of the programs that Doge cut. Take a listen.
If you look at the budget actually we're working on right now, and we'll have the T-HUD budget, transportation and HUD budget, we restore most of the cuts and even go higher than previous years on many of the programs that DOJ slashed.
I wonder how they can go for a full year and still not have their license revoked. Is that a systemic failure?
We need to be responsive to the red flags and react to them, not just count them, but do something, take action. Our main lane is the accountability side, the criminal investigations, the civil investigations. That's after the damage is done, though, unfortunately.
State Attorney General Rob Bonta says his office has brought hospice fraud criminal cases against 109 defendants and about 24 civil cases.
What would you say to citizens who are throwing up their hands and saying, how long is this going to persist? Is my government doing anything to protect my taxpayer dollars?
Again, I share it. I have the frustration. So to the citizens that remain frustrated, I understand. I share your frustration. Please know that we have increased our efforts. We're working overtime on prevention and on accountability, and we will continue until hospice fraud in California is rooted out.
CBS News reached out to the almost 60 hospices that have 5 or more flags. Many numbers were disconnected or went straight to voicemail. Representatives at some others denied any fraud and said they run legitimate hospices with real patients. Back in Van Nuys, we tried the hospice right next door to VML. We knocked, then called during the posted business hours.
You can't leave a message because the person you call has a voicemail box, so it hasn't been set up yet.
Wow.
Bye.
We couldn't reach anyone, and we'd soon realize these operations may be connected, part of what advocates describe as a web of hospice agencies that come and go, but continue submitting a steady stream of bills to taxpayers, whether the patients are dying or, like Ayani, are still out playing pickleball.
Wow. Wow. I mean, it's basically a carbon copy of what you saw Nick Shirley doing in Minnesota. Recording and documenting it, going around Minneapolis, Minnesota, and uncovering the ways to fraud and abuse. We all know about the Quality Layering Center, but there were also others. Exact same thing that inspire other people to do the exact same thing. And now you finally see major legacy news outlets pretending as if they care about doing news investigation stories like this. And I find it hard to believe that the California Attorney General is actually doing everything that they can do in order to root out the waste, the fraud, the abuse that's going on in the state of California. Not when CBS is basically, I mean, they just laid it all out right there for him to see. There goes the red flags, there goes all the markers, there's everything letting you and showing you, hey, this is them literally setting up all the fake accounts, phone numbers that don't go anywhere, mail that piles up, nobody answers the phone, no actual real patients, nothing that actually gives you a real footprint of being a business other than the fact that they got the paperwork. I guess that's all it takes is that, hey, we got paperwork that said we're a business. But when you go to these places, you see exactly what it really is. But you have these Democrat-run states that they allow it to happen. They just allow it to go down and nobody does anything about it. And you see the taxpayers, the people in that state, they're getting swindled. They're getting bamboozled. And think about it like this. They got the resources. They got the bandwidth. They have all of the necessary equipment and tools possible where they could root out all the waste, the fraud, and abuse going on easily. They could shine a light on this. They could highlight this information and make it so where these people who are in charge feel the heat so much because it's being pointed out and so glaring that they got to do something about it. Imagine if they did that rather than what they do, which is spin a narrative telling you things that they want you to believe, telling you half truths, not the full picture. But that's my thoughts in the update. Now let me hear from you. Drop your comments down below. As always, you enjoy the content, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to let me know. Subscribe to stay locked in with future videos. And as always, until next time.